Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today's Sunday, the 13th of July, 2025, and this is the Weekend Roundup. Hey up, you bleeders. After a week off to celebrate America's treasonous behaviour, the UFC returned with a couple of heavyweights headlining the card. But this wasn't two fat guys at the Apex. Instead, the show moved to the Athens of the South, to Music City, all the way to Nashville, Tennessee. So would we get a merry, melee melody, a cacophony of close combat, or just the bittersweet symphony of violence that we all so desire? Well, I'm your host, DangerMouse, and we're going to talk about all that in a moment. And by we, I mean, of course, my opposite number when it comes to hosting these shows. He's from Ohio, but he's not the king of cool. But never mind, he's been here forever long. If the weather in Cleveland is anything like the weather here, and knowing where he records our shows, he's probably hotter than Derek Lewis's balls on that famous day. So how's it going, Lazy? You medicated and motivated for the show this week?
Yes, I am. Both those things, and I am very hot. I do feel like Derek Lewis's balls, and apparently I got a little bit too medicated because I thought I was hosting this show, so I need to change up my fucking game plan. Well, let's go.
We need a third voice on the show. I'm starting to have my doubts about this guy. First he says he can't wait to see my girl Dakota lose, and then the other day I see him saying on the Discord the exact same thing about Lazy's favourite strawweight, Fatima Klein. I know he's been in California dreaming about his return. He's the closest thing we have to Teen Spirit. And I know he's dying to say hello and that Larry is eager to hear his dulcet tones. So I won't waste any more time. Welcome back, Austin. You hydrated and hyped for the show?
That's right. And feels good to be back. It's like a little bit of a hiatus. I don't know if you were. For those who don't know, I did move, and it was a hell of a project. And still doing home improvements and whatnot, as well as working full time. So my weekends have been occupied. But honestly, it feels good to be back. And generally speaking, I had a great time watching the fights. I can't complain.
Getting carried away. That's how eager he is. All right, one last thing before we get to the fights. You know how this tune goes. We're trying to get to 200 subscribers. So please like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. It helps us in the algorithm. Let's get down to business with the first fight from the main card. Junior Tafa versus Tuco Tokos. I would have bet two fat guys at the Apex joke here, but Tafa had obviously put in the work to generate a good-looking frame for light heavyweight. Not that looking good in his fight pick made him look good in the fight. Tuco was definitely the ugly guy in this contest. Aside from a strong moment at the end of the first and start of the second round, Tokos just ground Tafa down with the wrestling, and when the opportunity finally presented itself, he ended it with a head and arm choke. Finally, a UFC win for Tokos, and more regret from me for picking Tafa. Probably not the most exciting fight to kick off his return, but I have to pass this over to Austin for his thoughts. So what you got on this one, Pat?
Yeah, interesting. There is a theme on some of the fights tonight where, like a new weight class who dis kind of thing. And Junior was one of those, except he looked like he had, instead of looking kind of like the guy who just got off the bus and just showed up to the wrong party, he looked like the guy who was ready but forgot how to wrestle. And you can tell because he was trying, but he had really no answers except for the Derek Lewis method of getting up and believing jiu-jitsu does not exist. So that didn't work for Tafa here. And unfortunately, Tukos is not that guy who's going to be remembered for beating him. He's just going to be the guy that submitted him and should have probably lost had the fight stayed on the feet. Here's the thing. I don't hate the fact that Junior lost. I just think he just needs to work on a lot more of the grappling aspect, and just because he's capable on the feet. I mean, every time he landed, he nearly knocked out Tukos, and it's not like that's a big accomplishment or anything, but at light heavyweight, you just got to touch these guys, and some of them go down pretty easy, some quicker than others. He just has to work on his grappling. he's there. He's young enough. It'll work out for him in the end. He looked good in good shape. He didn't seem exhausted. He just got caught because he's not a grappler per se. If he's got the right corner, and I believe he does, he'll have to just kind of home in on the grappling aspect, at least defensively. And then we may have something of a prospect at light heavyweight. But until then, I'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think it was the first round with about 3 minutes to go, maybe, or 2 minutes to go. He was sat back up against the cage, and I saw him look up at the clock, and he could see that in his mind, like, oh shit, how long am I going to have to sit here? Anyway, out to add, Lazy, you have a fun tagline for this one or anything?
Well, like I said, I'm pivoting my script here on the fly, so my takes may not be the sharpest on this show, but nevertheless, I got a tagline, and it's kind of like Austin mentioned. There was a theme on this card for a few of these fights, and it was people shifting divisions and changing weight classes for whatever that reason might be. And in this case, we had Junior Taffa making his way down from heavyweight to light heavyweight. And it did look like he took the transition pretty seriously. It looked like he was in good shape, probably the best shape we've ever seen him in, without a doubt. But even still, it looked like he could have shed a few more pounds. It looked like, really, if Junior Taffa truly dedicated himself, this guy might be a fucking middleweight. That could be half of his fucking problem, is he's been fighting in the wrong divisions his entire career. But, at the end of the day, these Taffa brothers, dude, these Taffa brothers are not it. They're not UFC caliber. They're not what we're looking for. Combine him and his brother, and you still have a losing record, a hardy losing record within the UFC. So you could say, yeah, shore up some of the holes in your game and get some better wrestling defense and some become a little bit more skilled at getting up. But I just think that there's certain guys out there that's just not in their game, that's not in their DNA, and I kind of think that the Taffas fall into that category. But what are you gonna do? At the end of the day, this was just truly one of the lowest level fights in a long, long time. This was two guys that don't belong in a UFC cage, but somehow found themselves in one. It shows you the shallowness of both heavyweight and light heavyweight. And I don't know what we're doing signing guys like this and putting them on main cards, unless it's a discount thing and it's to save some money. That's the only way this makes sense to me. But either way, just a nice finish, I guess you would say, from Tuco Tacos. I, for one, wasn't very impressed, and I'm not going to rate him very highly going forward. I know that.
No, he didn't really. Didn't make much of a blip on my radar, rather, to be honest.
No.
Okay, then next up, more heavyweight action as Vitor Petrino took on Austin Lane. With it being a debut at this weight for Petrino, who apparently managed to add the weight solely from muscle. Didn't take him 3 years either. Very quick job by Petrino, getting the takedown, working for a head and arm choke for some time before he started to rear up and deliver some ground and pound, which in turn caused Lane to turn away and give up his back and, more importantly, his neck, and give Vitor his second submission win. Very annoying for me because I picked Vitor to win this fight in the first round by KO. And what does he do? He submits him. In a division that's in dire need of some genuine talent, it's probably a done deal that he's headed towards the top 15. So, Lazy, what did you think of this performance and Vitor's transformation? Is he a future contender at heavyweight?
I mean, what the fuck does that mean? Yeah, sure, he could be. I think just about any fit, able-bodied, large man could walk into the UFC's heavyweight division and probably become ranked. It's not that difficult. If you could get the contract, it's about a 50-50 chance you're going to get ranked. So, yeah, good on you, Vitor Petrino, I guess. But I think that really this was just the UFC was desperate, just absolutely desperate to get this man a win. And what better way than to send him off to fucking heavyweight? And yeah, that's exactly what the fuck they did. Now, again, another situation where, good on you, credit to you. You looked pretty good moving up. You didn't look flabby and fat. You still maintained your muscle mass. I think everybody by now has seen the side-by-side comparison picture of him at light heavyweight and heavyweight. And, he looks good physical fitness-wise in both photos. I think that myself and the majority of people kind of figured the foregone conclusion in this fight was going to be a knockout. I mean, you got Vitor Petrino here, a guy that's got 7 career wins by KO TKO coming in, and his opponent in Austin Lane, a veritable walking case of CTE. So, yeah, I think that it was slightly surprising to see this one end by submission, but ultimately a finish on the part of Petrino was basically the expected outcome. Again, it's another one of them situations where I thought, he looked pretty good. Petrino, the Brazilian, he looked pretty good, but it's hard not to against somebody like no brain Austin Lane. So it is what it is. A good heavy strong crank on that fella. He's got some some heft and some definite muscle mass. So I think going forward, could he be a problem in heavyweight? Possibly, but it's hard to say off of a win over Austin Lane.
Okay. And Austin, I'm sure you'll have something to say on this. The same questions, and you can feel free to mention Lane if you want, seeing as I've pretty much ignored him. As desperate as heavyweight is, I don't think it's that desperate.
I mean, here's the thing. It just goes to show how shit the heavyweight division is when a light heavyweight, the quality of Victor Petrino, can go up and just kind of run over the lesser of the division. And it means something because he kind of looked like a heavyweight who had been doing it for a minute. And he's been at light heavyweight his last handful of fights. And for Austin Lane, he's just that dude that you need. He's technically got some kind of a name, although it's not in MMA. It's because he played football. The other thing, too, is that this was a theme that I remembered seeing when Jailton Almeida was coming up, and he had just kind of said, I don't think I want to, I don't want to wait for a heavyweight opportunity. I want to go up and, wrestle some, flabby guys who can't really stop a takedown. And that's what he did. I mean, I didn't really see any striking improvements, right? He just kind of went in there and did what I thought, like, all right, if I see an opportunity, I'm going to do the thing where I can easily kind of muscle down the guy because I got better BJJ. Great. Gets the takedown pretty quick, manhandles him, and then stays on top of him, nearly like, okay, I got to the position. What do I do? Oh, okay. He's going to give me a couple of things. I'm going to try to, look for, a head and arm choke, look for a Kimura from the top, and just, let him give me an opportunity. And the minute that he did, he remained in position, stayed on his opponent, and just allowed for his opponent to give him a perfect opportunity to get a rear naked choke. And realistically, that's what this division needs. It just needs guys who are capable and able to win as they need to. That's it. It doesn't matter if they're former light heavyweights or guys who are from other promotions or only disciplined in one thing. Fucking just get bodies in there, man. Like Victor Petrino is a breath of fresh air in this division now. Yes, it's over Austin Lane, but still, come on. We traded him for Tafa. It's fine. It's fine. And the truth of the matter is that it doesn't matter who you have in this division. You just need turnover. For some reason, the UFC doesn't seem very keen on trying to get a bunch of new talent. And when they do, they just cheap out on getting it. And it's like, okay, here we are again, looking at this division, wondering what the fuck is going on. But hey, we have a guy who's capable, and we're going to hope that they don't, screw him over in the long run. But I'll remain skeptical until we get there. You look good tonight. Let's see what happens when he faces a guy who can knock him out.
Yeah, I will say weighed in at 255, which is, I believe, is what Tom weighs in at. So I'm not putting him in the same boat as Tom, but it's same weight.
Perfect type of heavyweight. The guy who can walk around at his natural weight and still make the fight.
Yeah,
he came into this fight actually bigger than Lane. Yeah, he weighed in more than Lane did, which is crazy. Just the last thing I want to say on this one is that I'm sorry, and I apologize to all the people out there that bet on this fight, because I got a feeling a lot of people had money on this fight to end by KO. Like I was saying, Austin Lane, prior to last night, he'd been defeated 6 times. All 6 of those defeats came by knockout. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Petrino, a knockout machine. I don't think anyone had a submission. If you did, fucking more credit to you, but yeah, I bet you a lot of people were like, fuck, he finished him, but he finished him by a submission. What is happening?
It's why I don't bet on this sport. It's far too unpredictable. Anyway, after all the heavyweight stuff, we finally saw some speed and movement as we saw Nate Landwehr versus Morgan Charrier at featherweight. Charrier's youth gave him a statistical edge, should I say, but Nate the Train loves winning as an underdog. He had an impressive 4-1 in UFC fights as the underdog. The story of round one was Morgan chewing up Nate's leg until the Train rushed in and delivered a nice three-piece, and suddenly it was, oh, you're a wrestler now time. If we're scoring on damage, that was clearly Morgan's round. But round two, Nate did what he does and started coming forward, breaking Charrier's rhythm and outstriking him, including a wild haymaker that would have looked great in any comedy western after a breakup. I don't know what happened, but he desperately tried to take off Morgan's head with that shot. Then round three, and oh my God, MMA is great again. Morgan Charrier giving us that bittersweet symphony of violence that we need on a main card. His corner told him to use his boxing, and goddamn did he. Started off with a right hand that clipped the top of Nate's head and stunned him, gave him those chicken legs, and Charrier scented blood and just never gave Landwehr a chance to recover. I think it was everybody's favourite left hook that dropped Nate to his knees and made the ref jump in. I did figure that Charrier would win. I just didn't expect him to finish Nate. So here you go, Austin, something mean and lean for you to get your teeth into. Thoughts on this bonus winning scrap? Fight of the night, I believe. I haven't looked where Morgan is ranked at. I don't know if he's anywhere near the top 15, because that is another division that's looking for top level talent at the moment.
Well, Nate Landwehr said it best. What my ass, see what happens. Well, he got his ass whooped. We saw what happened. God, here's the thing. Nate was in control of the first round, and even if you scored it for Charrier, you could honestly see a 50-50 round, right? And I think it wouldn't have mattered, because you could have seen a scenario in which Landwehr winning the second, which I thought he did, and then moving into a controlled but measured approach to point fight and possibly look for counters and, counter all the wrestling that he was getting from Charrier. But for some reason, he let his ego get in the way in the second round, man. Like, I don't know. Lazy, maybe you watched it and got what that was going on, but he seemed to be super agitated by Charrier and legitimately just was like I'm pissed off at this guy and I'm going to let the fight slip away out of my fingers kind of thing going on. Because that's what it looked like the minute that whole exchange happened, where he's like yelling at him. And at the end of the round, I don't know if you guys remember, he's like, "Hi!" just yelling at Charrier from across the cage as the ref is trying to get in between them. I don't know exactly what happened, but that's what I remember vividly. I'm like, oh, he lost the fight right there. And sure enough, the next thing in the third round, at the beginning of the fight, or at the beginning of the third round, just fucking gets walloped and just gets fucking finished against the cage. Because God forbid, Nate Landwehr, the only guy capable of derailing the train is the train itself. As for Charrier, he needs at least 2 more wins to get ranked, I think. Because this division is already stacked, there's a lot of movement at the top, despite the former champion and one contender no longer being there. We're looking at a division where there's a lot of change going on. Charrier is not going to be in a ranked featherweight anytime soon, unless he faces 3 guys in a row that are currently ranked. And I don't think Nate was that. So,
no.
Excited, cautiously optimistic.
All right, come on then, Lazy. Let's see what you have on this amazing fight. I thought it was really good. My fight of the night.
Yeah, fuck yeah, it was fucking good, and it was very deserving of that fight of the night. Like, we wanted a Nate the Train Landwehr fight, and we got a Nate the Train Landwehr fight. This was to a T, by the definition. This is a Nate the Train fucking fight. Win or lose, good or bad, that motherfucker's going to come out there and he is going to swing dicks with the best of them. And not only did he swing dicks last night, but he decided to stand there and swing swords with the last pirate, and it did not fucking pan out well. Yeah, fucking phenomenal fight, though. I mean, when you watch MMA, you want a fight to unfold in not only a technical, precise, controlled manner, but you want some fucking chaos. You want some blood and guts. You want some carnage. You want a little bit of carnival vibes in your fight, and that's what Nate the Train brings. So it's no wonder the guy's a fan favorite. I don't recall ever really watching one of his fights be like, you know what, this is a boring fight. No, because he's gonna bring it. He's gonna fucking keep coming the whole time, and he's gonna put it in your face, and that can backfire on you. You know, it's a live by the sword, die by the sword kind of mentality. And you know, I think you got to commend guys like Nate the Train. The UFC needs guys like him, the Terrence McKinneys of the world, the people that are just going to go out there and they're going to risk it all for a win and say, you know, I'll be damned if I lose. That's just what's going to happen. So, firstly, that's what I want to say is just credit to Nate Landwehr, even in a loss, for providing us with an entertaining fight. For the Charrier, on the Charrier side, he's one of those guys that kind of leaves me with like a bit of just a confused feeling, because it feels like when he turns it on and when he really kicks it into high gear, he's one of the better guys in the division. And if he decides to really go balls to the wall, you know, he could find a lot more success. But then you take a gander at his record and you kind of wonder, has what we've seen in some of his other fights been a problem that's plagued him throughout his career, where he can kind of take rounds off, or he could take the foot off the gas, or have off performances where he doesn't necessarily look like that guy that we saw last night that absolutely went in there and fucking murdered poor Nate Landwehr. That fucking third round, man, he just uncorked hellfire and fucking brimstone on him. The most biggest, widest winging fucking shots you could imagine. Those were coming from his hips. He had no intent on defense. He just said, I'm going to fucking kill this guy. And he did. He slapped him one way, slapped him the other way, slapped him back the other way again. Kind of shame on that ref for not getting in there sooner. I think he could have saved Nate the Train a bit quicker than that. But that's a debatable thing that I'm sure we're going to get into a bit later in this show. So referee stoppages.
Yes, we are.
Referee stoppages can always be hit or miss, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, I think only about 3 of those 30 shots landed, but that was all it took to create one of the most hilarious finishes of 2025. So I was happy to see it, and good on both men for giving us a great fight.
Yeah, well, as you've mentioned it, I did open this up because I did want to look at the stats for this fight, because I remember on the broadcast they showed it like Charrier in 20-8 in the first round or something like that, and the stats were duplicate, but the other way around, Landwehr was clearly ahead. So the third round, Charrier threw 24 strikes, landed 7 of them for 29%. Landwehr threw 6 strikes, landed with 2 of them. There you go. That was the flurry, apparently. At least that's how many landed.
Yeah, I said it on Discord last night. Slight moral victory to Nate Landwehr. Prior to getting knocked out, he was actually winning on the judges' scorecards.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, he was up 2018 on one set of cards, and then it was tied 19-19 on the other 2.
All right. That whichever judge scored it for Landwehr in round 1 needs to take a look at the photo of his leg by the after the first minute of the fight, after Charrier just smashed it up. There were literally lumps on it. When it turned sideways, you could see fucking growths on it. It was like nasty.
That judge, by the way, was your boy Derek Cleary. So,
was it? Oh, well, fuck Derek Cleary. He's not exactly on my favourite list. Not on my most hated list either, I don't think. But we can get up to referees at another time. Next up, we had Calvin Kattar versus Steve Garcia. I said last week the thing I remembered Kattar for most was getting beaten up by Max Holloway. And this kind of was a similar-ish fight. Kattar spent most of round 1 in the tram lines as Garcia just used his length to pretty much headhunt and try and look for that one knockout shot to drop Calvin. Round 2 was going the same way. Then Garcia landed something, but I didn't exactly see what it was. I think it was probably the good old left hook, because that was what he was throwing for most of the fight. And he seriously wall-balled Calvin. And I thought he was actually going to get the finish there and spoil my pick, because I'd picked Kattar to lose. But I know how tough he is, and I figured it would be by decision. And it did. It ended in a decision win for Garcia. He couldn't put him out. 30-27 on all cards. And Lazy, I think it's you up next. So what's next for Garcia? And I think that's either the 5th or 6th straight loss for Calvin. Are we going to see him cut next week? Is it BKFC time for him? Just don't give him a southpaw if you send him there.
Well, I mean, as far as what's next for them, that's something to consider. So maybe I'll get into that at the end of my little breakdown here. But yeah, man, this was kind of a fight that I guess you could say was a bit of featherweight past versus featherweight present. That's kind of slightly iffy because Steve Garcia is 33 years old, but his 33 looked a hell of a lot better than Calvin Cater's 37. I'll tell you that much. Cater just very shop worn. The guy is very shop worn. He's been through a lot of tough fights. He's absorbed just hellish amounts of damage throughout his career. And all credit to him for being able to withstand it and still keep going forward and not have been finished, throughout this tenure of his. But it may be a case of him being just too damn tough for his own good. Like, it's getting to the point where he's losing not just the fights, but he's losing far, far more of the exchanges in the fights than he's even having an opportunity to return. Like, it's just his movement, his speed, his reaction time, everything seems to be a hell of a lot slower than it was even just a few years ago. And if you know Cater's backstory, not only has he been through the wars, the Max Holloway fights, things like that, but I believe it was an ACL tear he had a few years ago. That was a really, really bad one. It kind of hasn't been talked much about since then, but I think that has hampered his performance and his ability to perform greatly at this stage of his career. Like, injuries and things like that when you're past the age of 35, or even trying to bounce back from them if they happen prior to it. Like, it's just your healing abilities and the things like that just aren't the same as they once were. And I think that's really kind of starting to rear its head with Calvin. But for Steve Garcia, man, the stock continues to rise, continues to grow his win streak from 5 to now 6. Although the 5 straight finishes that could have been 6, that streak goes by the wayside. But if there's a guy you're not going to be able to put down, there's no shame in that guy being Calvin Cater. The guy's tough as an old leather shoe. So, I think that this was a pretty good, solid performance by Steve Garcia. I feel like I learned a good amount about him by seeing him go the distance and hang in there for 3 rounds with somebody the caliber of a Cater, even though he has regressed. So, I'm still high on the Mean Machine. I still think that his future is bright. He needs to continue to be active and push the envelope when it comes to taking fights, because your time is limited, at least your time in your peak. So get in there, Steve. Continue to fucking knock these dudes down and get those W's under your belt. I will say also for Steve Mean Machine Garcia, his call-outs following the fight were pretty good. He asked for Yusuf Zalal. I can't remember, somebody else, like a couple of the guys in the division that don't really get called out. He asked for the dudes that nobody wants to fight. So high likelihood he's going to get them. And he did say also maybe an Apex main event. So why the fuck not? Let him fight one of those dudes, Yusuf Zalal, in an Apex main event. Calvin Cater, on the other hand, yeah, I think 5 losses in a row. It's about time to call it a career in the UFC at least. Could he do some damage in a BKFC? Sure. I don't know how he is financially in his life. So, if money is still a motivator, yeah, go ahead. Fucking, you might as well get in there and fucking go chase some cash. I think you could do all right over there, but I wouldn't be the least bit upset if he just, rode off into the sunset for good.
Just having a quick look at the stats while you were talking there. In that fight, Qatar threw 123, landed 26. Garcia threw 250 and landed 85. So he threw twice as many and landed 3.5 times as many as Qatar did. That was just a story of the fight, really, just completely outstruck. So yeah, Austin, what you got on this one?
Well, it's an interesting dynamic that we have here because 2 streaks, opposite directions. And I'm not going to try to take cheap shots at Calvin Cater because I think I like the guy. He's a good fighter. Was a good fighter.
Yeah.
This is the kind of situation where I wish the UFC would make it a habit of taking guys who are ranked, because I don't remember if he was or not at the time of this fight. Lazy, you probably know or not.
Cater was 14th.
Okay, yeah. That seems asinine on a 5-fight losing streak, but whatever. The truth of the matter is that Cater should not have been ranked. And I think had he not been ranked, he might have been able to get fights at the very lower edge or maybe even possibly midpoint of the featherweight division and not have to take this many losses. I think that I'm not gonna go into another tangent about rankings and where people get matched up and whatnot because that's not the show. But there should be a policy in place when fighters are on long losing streaks and are still ranked. Like there should be a policy that doesn't allow for that to happen, or at a bare minimum changes how they matchmake them. Right? Either way, Garcia was not ranked, and now will probably be ranked. Hopefully, I mean, 6 fights now, 5 fights in a row with finishes. This being his 6th win against a ranked opponent. That should mean something in this division. Garcia looked sharp. Like he looked like a guy who had realized, okay, I am now facing the upper echelon of the division. I need to be calculated, and I cannot rush in head first into this, fight. And he looked ready. He looked capable and measured, and that's not usually his fight style. He's a guy who's tall and lanky for the division, and he's usually like running in elbows first, clinching and getting clipped a couple of times before he finally finishes his opponent. But this time that wasn't the case. He just kind of went in there and just like, all right, I'm going to do the damn thing, but I'm not going to risk it all right now, which is great. That's fine. That measured approach is always good when you're trying to make the climb up to the top echelon of the division. Cater, on the other hand, man, I thought he had a moment in the second round where he looked good, and then just it's that moment when you see a fighter no longer be capable of competing with the best, and that was probably like 3 fights ago. He just gun shy. He's gun shy. And yes, there was a handful of fighters that he did face that were grappling heavy, but this is MMA. This is not boxing. This is not kickboxing. This is not Muay Thai. This is MMA. You have to be able to defend the takedowns. And if you can't defend the takedowns on a regular basis, you have to come up with weapons that prevent them from doing that. He had an opponent who was willing to stand with him. I don't even think he even went for a takedown.
Nope.
Still lost. And that's the point of this situation where I wouldn't mind seeing Cater retire. Should he? Probably, but he probably won't. I can see the UFC cutting him. It would be a shame, but if we're gonna keep Calvin Cater on, I don't know. There's a handful of people that they let go that weren't on streaks, but neither here nor there.
I mean, 5 in a row though. Like if they let him get another one in and he goes to 6 in a row, I mean, we're already in Tony Ferguson territory. What are we doing here?
Sam Alvey, 9 in a row, my friend.
Yeah.
Come on.
Who? Speaking of Sam Alvey, he was in somebody's corner last night.
I don't believe it was 9 in a row for Alvey. He lost 9, but I don't think it was in a row.
A draw still counts in my book as a loss.
No. Draw is not a loss. Fuck you, Austin. You're not getting away with that one.
Just saying.
Don't you be doing Smiling Sam a dirty?
He kind of got knocked out, didn't he, recently? If I'm not mistaken. I don't keep up with karate combat.
Just because you're a Tony Ferguson fanboy.
What do you mean? I always cheered for Khabib.
Smiling Sam was in Chris Curtis's corner last night.
Was it?
Yep.
I did not notice.
He was.
I was trying to rewatch that fight this morning on Fight Pass, and as I was watching it, I was listening to the commentary, and I was like, "That hasn't happened," and then it happened. So the UFC managed to fuck up their own audio on Fight Pass by about, I'd guess, about 4-5 seconds or something like that. So I had to turn it off. I just couldn't listen to it anymore because I knew what was going to happen before it happened. So yeah, get your fucking house in order, UFC. You get paid enough money. All right, next up, it was legend time in the co-main event as the UFC's oldest fighter, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, faced off against the young upcoming welterweight Gabriel Bonfim. No argument who the crowd favourite was on this one. Round round one, Bonfim was playing the striking game with Wonderboy, but with a purpose. And that purpose was to mess up Wonderboy's lead leg, which he obviously sticks out in that wide karate stand through uses. And the goal was to slow him down a little bit so he could find an opportunity to get the takedown, which he did. And then it looked for a moment as if he was going to make the prediction I'd made come true, but around early. But all credit to Wonderboy, stayed as cool as cucumber, slipped free of Bonfim's choke attempt. Then round two was looking very similar until Wonderboy was dropped by a check that instantly opened up that nasty cut on his shin that he immediately then tried to wrap around Gabriel's head. I've never seen anybody dropped by a check to kick before, I don't think. That's my phone going off. The commentary was funny with DC not wanting to look at the state of Wonderboy's shin that our sadistic editor may or may not be inflicted on you right now. I don't know. Round three, super close affair. Bonfim looking to impose his grappling game on Wonderboy, and the crafty vet resisting with everything he had. Unfortunately, in this kind of fight, the guy who's doing the pushing against the fence is often perceived as being the winner in those moments, and that's what the judges saw in this one. In the end, we had a split decision, and I guess that means Bonfim is now ranked at welterweight. So what's next, or rather, who's next for him, Austin? And what do you think about the fight?
That's a tough one too, because this division literally had like overnight, and is still having a dramatic turnover of of the rankings. I mean, aside from Kamaru Usman making a tremendous comeback, we're still looking at a relatively young division that has overtaken the top 15 as of late. There is a possibility that Bonfim gets the loser of, I want to say there was a fight that was supposed to be happening between Prates and somebody else. There's that. I think he shouldn't get anybody within the top 10. It would have to be something like a discount Forrest Griffin losing, possibly. In a perfect world, I would have liked to have seen him face Kamaru Usman just to give him another fight, but neither here nor there. And I mean, he could probably face anybody within like the top, like from 15 and 14, and be okay there, as long as he just gets another fight within the next like 6 months. Right? This division's moving fast, and there's going to be a lot more guys moving in. Islam's going to be fighting Jack Della Maddalena at some point. The turnover in this division is going to be pretty quick, and thankfully, there's a bunch of guys who are ready to fight. Yeah, I would say discount Forrest Griffin just so I can get him out of there. That'd be my perfect pick. But I'm not going to say his fucking name. And anywho, the fight was great because it felt to me as though Wonderboy won, and I based it off of the first round going to Bonfim with the grappling and just kind of landing pretty strong power shots, and then in the second round, Wonderboy came back with the striking and just managed to keep Bonfim on the defense. And anytime he landed, it seemed like his style. And that's the thing. The third round as well, he pretty much kept Bonfim on the back foot at points. And if Bonfim wasn't pushing forward against the fence, looking for grappling exchanges, Wonderboy was winning on the feet. The way I looked at it was Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is a more hittable version of MVP. And I think that's to the detriment to, I think that's what makes Wonderboy exciting, because he's capable and he can finish his opponents. He can win great decisions, but he's also the guy who can get knocked out by Anthony Pettis, from jumping off of the fucking fence. He's a guy who will be winning until he gets knocked out by Numanza, right? That's another opponent Bonfim can face as well. But he's still a capable and crafty vet. His style invites a lot of openings for his opponents because of the way that he likes to leave his lead leg out there all the time. He sometimes rushes in and does a Holly Holm where he's throwing multiple hand strikes going forward and where he can get countered easily. He does the thing where he's not the best at grappling, but he has decent grappling defense. Like he's capable at 41. Or I'm sorry, 42. Like, he's capable.
42.
It's unfortunate that there's a bunch of young dudes who can just figure out a way to beat him, or just be slightly more capable in the grappling department. Because if Wonderboy was able to finish the fight with, or even add more offense, he probably wins the decision. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of shouting at the wall here, but it feels like we could have had a Wonderboy who was still capable had he just pushed more offense. But you need guys like him to test the new guys in order to give them some kind of a name to say that they beat on the way up. And right now, welterweight still has names. Kamaru Usman's still out there. Freaking Jack Della Maddalena just took out Bilal Muhammad. Has a name. Burns is still ranked for some reason. There's guys. There's guys.
Yeah. Well, if you just took it on strikes, I'm just looking at him now. Thompson would have won it. He would have outstruck it. He outstruck him in round 2 and round 3. The matter was the ground control time by Bonfim. That seems to have been what swayed the judges. The takedowns, obviously, because Bonfim got 5 takedowns across the entire fight. But Lazy Wonderboy has 1 fight left on his contract. I'd imagine that he gets paid a fair whack for fighting. He's probably out of the top 15 come next week. So does he get let go so he can go and become a champion at Karate Combat? Or does the UFC keep him on? And if he is being let go, who does the UFC give the nicest man in the sport as a send-off fight?
All right, well, several things to address and get into here. First off, for Austin, discount Forrest Griffin, a.k.a. Brian Battle. You don't got to worry about him anymore. He has moved up to middleweight. He is facing Ruzi Boyev at UFC Chicago next month. So you don't got to worry about him.
I cannot wait for his demise.
Don't got to worry about him at welterweight anymore. Just for Bonfim, as far as what you do with him, I think it's never going to happen. But if I was going to book him next, I'm looking at a guy right there, because it's likely Bonfim's going to take Wonderboy's spot and move into the number 12 slot. I'm looking at a guy just a couple of spots ahead at number 9 that's never going to fight anyone, but I would love to see Gabriel Bonfim take on Colby Covington. I would not mind seeing that. I think that would be a fun fight to watch.
I agree. Yeah, I would like that too.
As far as what do you do with Wonderboy now with 1 fight left on his contract? Because you are correct. I'm sure the guy is getting a hefty paycheck. It's really a tough spot if you're the UFC, because, this is 3 in a row now, and he's not exactly incapable of winning, but it's getting really tough to matchmake with Stephen Thompson in the welterweight division, because outside of the handful of leftover older names that you have, like Austin was pointing out, it's a lot of young killers. And trying to find, even outside of the rankings, so trying to find somebody to slot him up with that's going to be worthy of the paycheck that you're giving him, while still giving him a competitive, winnable fight, it's a tough thing to do. So, I would not be against them kind of letting him out of this final fight in his contract and him moving forward to Karate Combat, because I have said for months and months, he is a future 2-division champion in Karate Combat. The dude could go in there and fucking wipe the floor with the majority of the competition he would be facing there. So I think that's a wise move, and I think he would make a lot of bank. But yeah, man. And then for the fight itself, there were a lot of people that kind of felt Stephen Thompson did win this fight. I saw a lot of fuss and hubbub online of people saying that this was an incorrectly scored fight, that Thompson got screwed, it was a robbery. I don't know if I would go that far. I think that you can have a close fight where you could feel one way or another about who won and still not be upset that you didn't have the right take. Like, it's not that far-fetched to imagine a world where Gabriel Bonfim outscored Stephen Thompson in this fight. So I wasn't too upset about the decision going the way of Bonfim. I thought that was fairly reasonable. The shin, man, whew, absolutely disgusting. I'm with DC. I did not want to look at that or watch that. It was gross, especially the super slow-mo version where you see it splitting and it just starts oozing. And you're like, oh, God, it's fucking terrible. Not as bad as the one that happened a few weeks ago in, I think it was Glory Kickboxing. There was a picture of a dude that split his shin. It was just horrible, but very, very bad. I'm glad that they didn't stop this fight. Like, if you guys would remember, Jack Jenkins, I think it was, that had a similar situation not long ago where he busted his shin open, but he kind of made a bigger deal out of it, and they ended up stopping the fight in the UFC.
I would say I think if I remember correctly, if it's the same one, the ringside doctor put his finger into the gash.
He stuck it in there. He fucking diddled his hole.
Yeah, that was the one I remembered, and that was a big controversy then. Not just him fingering the hole, but the size of the gash. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't stop it, because I think that certain commissions, certain states, there is a world where they could have called that fight off. I'm glad they didn't, and good on Thompson for kind of no-selling it and continuing to use that leg too to show like, hey, I'm okay. But he did come out. I'll share a picture for Dave if he wants to throw it in here. But he did come out and say it went all the way to the bone. That split all the way to the fucking bone. So he's going to be on the mend for quite some time. One of the nastier wounds I've seen in recent memory. But yeah, just, happy to see Stephen Thompson still getting in there, still doing his thing. It sucks to see him losing. Really sucks to see him on a losing streak. But what do you expect, man? There's a 15-year fucking age gap between these two.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to point out, a little perspective there. That means that Stephen Thompson was a freshman in high school when Bonfim was born. Come on, guys.
That's pretty crazy. Is that it, Lazy?
Yeah, that's all I got.
No, okie dokie then. Main event time. Lewis versus Teixeira. Another veteran versus upcomer fight as the Black Beast apparently finished Teixeira by KO. And I say apparently because the broadcast decided to freeze while the commentary team were talking about it. So I've only seen it once. So I have to ask, was that a bad decision by Jason Herzog? It looked early to me. Teixeira was certainly conscious enough to grab the cage and pull himself back to his feet. But after the fight, Derek Lewis is his usual self. Shorts were off, launched into the crowd. He was crawling around, cocking his leg up, pissing into Teixeira's corner, promising to inflict some ground and pound on Mrs. Lewis. Who I believe was in the cage. Again, I couldn't see this because the fucking broadcast was frozen. So aside from the decision, the only thing to take from this fight is how long is it before we see Derek facing Tom? He has pedigree, he has the KO record, and they've never fought. The way I see it is he's fourth in line after Gann, Almeida, and Acosta, unless he can beat another top 10 guy. So what do you think? Is he going to fight again, or will he wait a year and hope no fresh prospects jump the line, as you all say? So let's hear from LazyBed first. Thoughts on the fight, such as it was, the stoppage, Derek's future, wherever you want to go with this.
All right. Well, first off, we'll address the stoppage because my take on this isn't going to be very long as far as the stoppage goes. Much like the previous fight where people caused a big fuss over the scorecards and the decision going the way of Bonfim, I didn't really object to this stoppage in the main event. I didn't really feel like it was as terrible and egregious as many people kind of tried to make it seem. It was a bit peculiar. It was a strange time for Herzog to step in. He did wait for Teixeira to be on his feet and, turning around to jump in there and stop the fight. But at the same time, I kind of agree with what our pal Aaron Braunstetter was saying. And the fact of the matter is, if that fence wasn't there for Teixeira to climb up and pull himself up and hold himself up against, he was going to land on that fucking commentary table and he was going to be getting pummeled on the fucking ground. Like, that's just the fact of the matter. He was being saved by the fence there. Did he gather his wits fairly quickly afterwards? Yeah, maybe. But, he was, for a brief moment there, grabbing Jason Herzog by the throat. So I don't think that he was entirely with it. And you get set on your fucking ass, flat on your fucking back from a Derek Lewis left hook. Yeah, I think if Lewis very well could have just walked away after he set him down, and the fight could have been stopped right there. Herzog could have just fucking called it. The ground and pound follow-up may not have been super necessary or necessary at all. But yeah, so I don't really object to the stoppage. I thought the stoppage was fine. Derek Lewis can fucking do no wrong. The guy everything he does, everything he touches turns to gold. He's a fan favorite for a fucking reason. You pointed it out, DangerMouse. The post fight stuff, just absolute fucking. It's just fantastic. But yeah, man, two fights in a row to close out a card on the road in front of live fans with two guys in their 40s. That's a bit tough. Not a good look for the UFC. One of the older cards in recent memory from top to bottom. But at least in this case, the old man fucking showed out. Derek Lewis came in probably the best shape that he's been in fucking years. Lean, mean, by his standards, and really just came in there and used his veteran savvy and his gamesmanship to kind of get one over on the youngster. I don't know if either of you guys seen it, but in the post-fight stuff on the UFC post-show, he admitted to the studio desk that he was faking that eye injury that he used to lure Teixeira in with. He didn't get clipped. Nothing happened. He was, completely putting on a front to try to get Teixeira to come close enough for him to crack him. And it fucking worked. So just wise move, a very wily veteran move. I could not be fucking happier to see Derek Lewis get a win. You might be onto something there, Mouse, with him versus Tommy Aspinall. But he did call, and credit to him, he called for Waldo Cortez Acosta, which is a slightly more realistic call than just going straight for the champ. And I think that if he does come out on top in that Acosta fight, it's almost certainly him versus Tom Aspinall in the near future. So yeah, that could be very interesting. Taliesin Teixeira, I think that those of us who knew the guy's record was shit. He had fought cans, complete total fucking losers and bums on his come up. So the line was a bit disrespectful, the betting line. I don't think that Lewis should have been as big of an underdog as he was. But yeah, I'm sure he made a lot of people fucking money. In fact, I know he made our guys at the main card minute money. So just happy to see Lewis back at it. And for Teixeira, I mean, back to the back of the line, buddy. Try it again.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say something there, and it's slipped my mind now. So let's hear from you, Austin. What was your thoughts on this one?
Damn it! Would have liked to have seen it go at least a minute.
Yeah, sure.
But I think my thinking on it is, as far as Derek Lewis and the title contention talk, he just needs one more. As long as he's got 3 wins and against current contenders, quote unquote, because this is 2 in a row for him now, right? Granted, the other one was almost like a year ago, but still. And now he's got a win over a guy who was kind of a thing in the division. So great call out, getting a contender, someone who's been busy in the division, but hasn't really looked impressive. So him getting a win over that guy, and I think what would be considered a title eliminator fight, not a number 1 contender or title shot. The idea being is that as long as the Lewis is available and the other heavyweights in the top 5 are not available for Tom, Lewis finds himself getting a call. That's the way I look at it. And he just needs to be ready. As long as he's got the 3 in a row and he's finished the last 2, if he finishes Acosta, he's got pretty much leeway to either sit out, wait for a title fight, or honestly get first dibs after whoever Tom fights next. Because then it's whoever the UFC deems fit at that moment, which is fine. It's the heavyweight division. They just need bodies for Tom. It's not like that fight's going to be super competitive for him anyways. But anywho, as far as the stoppage goes, I don't know about you guys. I didn't mind that it was an early stoppage, but just be consistent. Just be consistent, because we're watching Nate Landwehr eat fucking 30 fucking strikes apparently, and it's fine. Granted, only 7 of them landed, but he's up against the fence, wobbling and whatnot, and we're seeing Nate Landwehr die several times over. I'm sorry, Taliesin Teixeira. I had to get that name because it was just slipping my mind for a second. Taliesin Teixeira is up there, he gets dropped after hurting Lewis with the straight. Lewis does the thing where we thought he had No, I mean you saw him get hit in the face, and he did the thing where he's like, oh my eye. No, that was a punch, because Derek Lewis likes to fake, being injured on purpose, kind of thing, and he played it off, because he's like, Teixeira, like the young buck that he is, thought, oh, I have him hurt, and gets clipped on his for his efforts, and then you see Teixeira just trying to survive, as if he's like a kid in a pool, just like being thrown in by his parents in the deep end, just trying to survive. And he somehow manages to climb up and, grabbing the fence as he's doing it, which, whatever. There's a possibility that, like, if Lewis, like, doesn't follow him, lets him come back up, he drops him again, and this time he probably knocks him out anyways. Like, Lewis probably could have made it a little bit cleaner, but it's not like Lewis cares about being that dude who likes to, have clean finishes and whatnot. He's also the kind of dude who likes the craftsmanship of not caring about what he does. So, loosey goosey works for Derek Lewis. And that's what I like that it is a Derek Lewis performance. Good for him. He did all the tropes: underwear, cup, whatever. Fucking gonna masturbate all over the canvas. Why not? And we'll probably all clap for it. It's not my thing, but hey, I appreciate the fact that he has a gimmick where it's just him doing his thing and everybody just appreciates it. And good on Derek Lewis, man. Hey, it's tough in this sport to be somebody that people care about and realistically want to, like, keep watching compete regardless of how good his performances are. And he's got a niche. It's not easy to get a niche these days, especially in this version of the UFC. So good on him. Early stoppage, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think Derek's itch is usually a new Lamborghini. That seems to be the main thing he wants. The thing I was thinking about was chatting with Dave before the show, because he was saying that he predicted that this is exactly what Derek Lewis would do, but he said he predicted like he'd fake a stomach ache or something before the fight. But no, apparently he faked an eye poke. But I hadn't heard that, so yeah. And like I said, I have only seen this knockdown once, so don't judge me on it if it's pretty obvious that it wasn't about bad a stoppage. But Austin said it was an early stoppage, so I don't feel too bad.
The thing is, first of all, Derek Lewis doesn't throw left hooks. Like, I don't think he's ever knocked anybody down or out with a left hook. He is a right overhand guy. That is his shot. So to put Teixeira down with that left hook, one, that was unexpected. And two, if you go back and watch it, when you do go back and watch it, it wasn't even like he didn't have proper footing. He didn't have, hip, turnover, nothing like that. It was a total arm punch. He just wung his fucking arm like a pitcher throwing a baseball, and put him fucking on his ass. But the last thing I want to say on this, he had one of the one-liners of all time where he was talking about Teixeira, and he said, the UFC, I want some more of these taxi drivers. These guys, I know they all want to be riding in limos, but they're not going to get that off of my name. So fucking give Derek Lewis some more taxi drivers. Let him fucking knock these dudes out.
Yeah, good line. All right, that just leaves us with the best from the rest. So let's hear from Austin. What prelim fight beat a merry tune for you?
I was going to go with Jake Matthews versus Chidi Njokuani, but I will switch that for Max Griffin versus Chris Curtis. And my reasoning on this one is because you could have argued Max Griffin is not the most entertaining fighter. And on his return, that being Chris Curtis, to welterweight, a division that he had dabbled in Bellator and the PFL before his transition to the UFC. He, being Chris Curtis, has this ability to still be that same asshole who believes that he's winning a fight by virtue of him walking into his opponent. Yes, he can throw really great haymakers and counters and has really decent boxing defense. Honestly, he's got really good boxing defense at points. Doesn't do it all the time, but when he does, it looks pretty good. And then Max Griffin probably had his most exciting fight, most fun fight that I've seen in a long time, because he somehow manages to kick Chris Curtis in the nuts, and from that point on, the fight got entertaining. Chris Curtis was mad at him. You know, apparently the idea, if you want to have a fun fight for Chris Curtis, is you got to piss him off. And same thing with Max Griffin, because Max Griffin's not a guy who usually gets into the wings of the, talking shit and whatnot. That was my fight. It was fun. Chris Curtis is that dude who usually thinks he's winning even despite losing. And Max Griffin usually doesn't have fun fights, and this was a fun fight to watch.
Okay. Lazy, let's hear from you.
Oh, geez. Do we even got to ask, guys? We even got to ask.
I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. My highlight, my fight to shout out from the best of the rest from this fight night in Music City, guys. Yeah, and that's got to be the very first fight of the night, and that's Team LazyBed's 6th round draft pick. The highest scoring female in the 2025 draft thus far. That is the women's MVP. I speak, of course, of the Archangel, Fatima Klein. Oh, guys, the biggest favorite of the card, and she did look phenomenal. She lived up to that price tag. She outstruck the striker on the feet, and really the only resemblance of wrestling was a few takedown feints. That was, I think, just to keep Martinez guessing and keep her honest. But the kicker here, the topper on the cake, was the absolutely beautiful left high kick that went straight to the throat of Melissa Martinez. The vagal nerve, as Daz pointed out, immediately toasted, just shut her down. She went down like a fucking sack of bricks. Nets me a solid 35 fantasy points. and then the best part, my favorite part, she cuts her post-fight interview, and it's in her little 1940s fucking New Jersey cartoon voice, and it's the most hilarious thing to see a girl absolutely fucking slaughter another woman. And it's, yeah, I was so happy to do that. It just feels so good to be here. I love Fatima Klein.
Yeah, I'd forgotten she was on your draft pick. For me, that fight, actually, I had picked Fatima to win that one by KO, but I thought she was going to do it in round 3, so she slightly rushed my decision there on that one. But yeah, amazing fight, Brad. Great job. Well picked, even though Austin hates her.
I don't hate her. I just wanted to be the villain for once.
You just wanted her to lose. That's all. You don't hate her. You just wanted her to lose.
I just wanted to lose. That's it.
That's not being a hater
Why
at
am I
all.
supposed to be happy that Lazy's getting points?
So many points.
Yes. So I don't care. Yeah, for me, it had to be the fight that followed it, which was Mike Davis versus Mitchell Ramirez. This was one I did pick exactly right. I thought Mike Davis would suffer a bit of a punishment maybe on the first round, then come back, or maybe just pile on the pressure and eventually get it done in round 2. I forget exactly what my line of thought was. Doesn't matter, because I predicted a round 2 KO, and that's what Mike Davis got. Pretty good from him. I enjoyed watching that one. I'm sure I wasn't the only one. And I guess the other one that should be mentioned was Walter Walker getting the 2nd or 3rd heel hook in a row within a minute on Kennedy and Zechiku, who I'd picked on that one.
3rd, baby, 3rd.
Yeah, so
that's a UFC record.
Yeah, the irony with that one, of course, is at heavyweight, the only loss, only proper loss that isn't a disqualification or an injury on Tom Aspinall's career is via heel hook. So I wonder on come Monday morning whether Game and his other bunch of cronies, or the John Jones dick suckers, will be in chat saying that Walter Walker's the man to beat Tom Aspinall. He'll go in there, he'll heel hook him to death. So yeah, let's see if that happens. I don't think he's anywhere near the top 15 at the moment, is he?
I don't believe so.
No, not even close. Real quick, Mouse. Before we continue, shout out to Laura Murphy for her retirement, and hope I don't ever see you fight again. Good for her on almost doing the damn thing too. And Luke Combs was in the crowd, I think, tonight, so I got to see that on TV. That was nice.
Yeah, he was.
All right, then. I guess that just leaves us with one thing to do, and that is rate that card. And it can only be Austin to go first, since it's his recent return. So give us a call, my man.
All right. not a bad night of fights. Fun, despite some of them being long, but still, UFC's on the road. Sometimes they deliver, and sometimes the fight delivered despite the card being shit. And I thought the card delivered despite the bookings. And realistically, I had fun watching it. I mean, I didn't get to see most of it live, but I would say on the rewatch, I thought it was pretty entertaining. I'm going to give it a 7.5 for me.
Okay. We generously returns. I'm just looking through the results now to see what I can judge it. A lot of finishes, as it turned out. I forgot there were so many. And despite the fact that I hate the main event, that was terrible. That was shocking. Either by booking it or just the decision that my friend Jason Herzog made there. Decision, KO, submission, decision, KO.
There's 8 finishes.
Yeah, that's quite out of how many fights? 12?
12, yeah, 8 to 12.
Well, that's pretty good. I'm probably going to go a little bit higher than I was going to go there. I think, as I mentioned, America's Glorious Evolution, we'll go 6.76 on this one.
Okay.
In a random kind of way. It's not worth a 7. I can't give it a 7.
Huh. Interesting.
It's not worth 6.5 either.
I guess that leaves just me, huh?
Sure does.
Well, just call me optimistic, Bed, because I'm feeling a bit better about this card than you guys seem to be. Let's see. I wrote down some interesting bits from this card. Firstly, there are 8 sets of siblings in the UFC currently. Of those 8 sets, 4 of them had a sibling on the card last night. Melissa Martinez, Walter Walker, Junior Tafa, and Gabriel Bonfim. So that's pretty interesting. 4 of the 8 sets of siblings represented on one card. A record-setting 3rd heel hook, as we just pointed out, in a row for Walter Walker, which also ties him with Jacqueline Amarim for the most subs in a row among active roster members in the UFC with 3. Jake Matthews, this was an interesting stat about him, 22 UFC fights by just 30 years old. That's fucking crazy. What a career that guy's had. Also, something to point out, Merab Dvalishvili named SB Fighter of the Year. Shout out to Merab, big honor there. And then, as we just mentioned, 8 to 12 fights ending by finish. I also went 10-2 on the night for my Discord predictions, and I further catapulted myself into first place of our fantasy league. All in all, not a bad night of fights whatsoever. I feel perfectly fine giving this card a big solid snowman. Give me an 8.
Wow. Very, very generous.
Hey, first off, I'd take offense to you saying I would not be excited. I give it a 7.8, sir. I'm 7.5.
7.5. I was probably, what did I give it? 6.76. That's probably a bit ungenerous, so I'll give it 6.77.
Oh, thank you. What a nice tip there.
I will not be pressured into changing my score. All right, that about wraps it up for us this weekend. We'll be back next week with Lazy at the helm covering, which he thought he was this week, but he wasn't, with Lazy at the helm covering UFC 318, Holloway versus Poirier at another southern venue way down in Louisiana. Don't forget to join us for our Tuesday night, Sunday night scuffle. Until then, it's goodbye from them.
Oh, goodbye.
Yeah, all right, well, and it's a get lost from them. That's it. We're out of here. Yeah, come on here. A man needs a drink here. I need a smoke as well. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Bye, guys.
That's all, folks. No, come on, God damn it.
Oh, God damn it, I've run over slightly as well there. I wasn't keeping my eye on the... Don't stop recording, Dave, just yet, Dave. Tag this on at the end.
Yeah, we're doing good, man. I think I killed like 15 gophers as of late.
To kill every gopher on the course. Check me if I'm wrong, Sandy, but if I kill all the golfers, they're going to lock me up and throw away the key.
Gophers? Just
Gophers
man.
are big.
Not really. No, they're about the size of a small rat. Big mouse, like big field mouse, essentially. But
I don't think you know what a gopher is, Austin.
I do, because I do it for a living, Dave.
Gophers! They're great, not golfers. The little brown furry rodents. We can do that.
Aye.
We don't even have to have a reason.
Do it, man.
All right, let's do the same thing, but with gophers.
Ash!